it's time to move to our first panel. And I would like to hand over and introduce to you Edward Levy, technical writer and blockchain enthusiast at Entity, and host of our very first panel discussion called Innovation, Adaptation, and the Web3 Paradigm Shift. Please submit any questions to the panelists in the Zoom chat. We will try to find some time during the panel to answer them. Welcome, Edward. Again, the stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for that nice introduction, David. And yeah, I'd like to welcome everyone to the first panel of the Entity Builders Forum. It's titled Innovation, Adaptation, and the Web3 Paradigm Shift. So throughout our Project Dialogue series, a constant theme has been pushing the limits of what's possible with Web3. Supporting innovation is a core part of our mission here at Entity, and it's always interesting to hear ideas from other builders about how we can bring further adoption and further utility to the blockchain space. Today, we have a lineup of guests who are ready to dive into the latest trends currently shaping the blockchain world and society as a whole. So thank you very much to all the innovators for being here, and shout out to everybody tuning in right now from all over the world. Before we get started, I'd like to briefly introduce the guests for this first panel. So first off, we have Daniel from Multiverse X. Hello, Daniel. As a head of business development. Hey, Daniel. So he is the head of business development at Multiverse X, and he has been hard at work developing partnerships and synergies for Multiverse X since the early Elrond days, several years ago. So great to have him here. We also have Grigore from the CEO of Runtime Verification in the house. Grigore is a tech guru who is both an entrepreneur and an educator, currently at the University of Illinois' prestigious Computational Science and Engineering program. As a leading security auditor, he has worked with some major companies such as NASA, as well as some top Web3 projects such as Uniswap. Welcome, Grigore.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. Also joining us today, we have Laura of LKI Consulting.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Laura. So Laura is a Web3 marketing expert, and she has worked within the Multiverse X ecosystem and also with some really big blockchain companies such as Transact and some major Web2 companies as well that you've probably heard of, such as NordVPN. So great to have some female representation in the house, and thanks for coming, Laura. Anyway, we also have Hassan here, who is Associate Managing Director at risk and financial advisory firm Kroll. Welcome, Hassan.
Hi, everyone. Hey, everyone.
Hey, what's up? So Hassan has extensive experience in the startup world, and he works closely with a range of different stakeholders at his job in traditional finance, as well as in the blockchain space. Next up, we have Javier from Jex. Thanks for joining us today. Good to have you here. So Javier is an experienced full stack developer who is the founder of a leading Multiverse X DeFi startup. His project, Jexchange, is a decentralized order book exchange that continues to push the envelope with some cool new features and utilities. So we also are joined today by Bruno, who is a Web3 coach and educator that helps organizations and individuals get the most out of blockchain technology. Welcome to the panel, Bruno. So, Bruno. Sorry. Yeah, great to have you here. Bruno is an expert on clearly explaining the nuances of Web3 with actionable takeaways of all kinds that help drive value for all sorts of different businesses. So last but not least, we have Wolfgang, who is the CEO and co-founder of Entity and Astari Vision. Thanks for joining us, Wolfgang.
Hi, everyone.
So Wolfgang has very extensive experience in the Web3 and startup worlds, and he's an expert in successfully growing innovative businesses from the ground up. So before we get things started here, I just wanted to give a quick rundown on how this panel is going to work. I will ask some questions, and I'll start by calling on one of the panelists in particular to kick things off, kick things off for each topic. After that, the other panelists can feel free to chime in with any thoughts they might have on that subject. And then once we get towards the end of the panel, hopefully we'll have time to take a couple questions from the audience and get everyone from the community involved. So without further ado, I would like to get things started with Javier. And as we all know, the cryptocurrency market can be very cyclical, can be very volatile, as we all know very well. But you know, we have to keep building throughout all the conditions. Of course, it's a build market, as we like to say here at Entity. So I wanted to ask Javier, what was the biggest challenge you faced during the current bear market, and what did you manage to learn from that challenge?
Yeah, the bear market is really tough. We had a pretty rough night and morning. The biggest challenge for me is simply to make it through, to survive until we see better days and we are profitable again. I mean, every project has bills to pay, they have salaries and so on. So unless you have a strong treasury or an external source of income, it's really hard to survive. You just run out of funds, and in your project, we saw a lot of projects dying during this bear market. Again, it's really hard. It's really tough. A lot of users are gone. So for JEX, it means less trading volumes, so less revenues. But at the end of the day, you need to adapt, to find new solutions. For Edge Exchange, that means new features. We created a DEX aggregator to try to attract new users to the platform. That was a feature that was missing in the ecosystem. And more of that, you need to work with other projects. You cannot survive working all alone or by yourself. You need to collaborate, to find to work as a team with other projects. That's really important for the ecosystem. You also need to find, as I said, new sources of revenues, new sources of income. So you can, with your treasury, use DeFi protocols to make some profits. That's why we are using HashSwap and JewelSwap. So yeah, diversification is really important. It's the key to survive in a bear market.
Okay.
If I may,
Yeah.
if I may add to that from my personal experience as well and professional experience, building on what Javier said, I've come across several startups that were planning to, for example, raise $10–20 million at $100 million valuation, and then all of a sudden that's not applicable anymore. You know, the market tanked, the valuations have taken a big hit. Companies that were looking to raise at a valuation of, call it 100, the valuation is down to like 50 or so. So valuations were slashed. The amount of money they could raise was slashed. I mean, they would be lucky to even be able to raise any money. And all of a sudden, whatever they had planned for the next 12 to 18 months has taken a big hit. And now they had to reorganize themselves, as Javier said, you know, trying to look at for new sources of revenue, restructure the company, look at their overheads, their costs, their burn rate, and trying to find the best way to survive. It was, and it continues to be a very, very challenging market.
Let me be
It's
the
really
devil's advocate
important.
here, if I may. As someone who worked in
Yeah,
Web2 space before coming to Web3, I feel like this bear market, it's more about showing who actually is building the product and bringing value, rather than projects that have good marketing. And like, I run a marketing agency, so take that with a grain of salt, but like, not just companies who are doing good marketing, but actually building good product are surviving. So on one hand, yes, it's harder to raise money, it's harder to keep the valuation, but the question is, where those valuations actually legit and sustainable? if the project is generating zero revenue and saying they're valued 50 mil just because they had someone investing a couple of million at like few percent, that's not sustainable. That's not a real valuation. And then we have other projects during these days like Pad, who was oversubscribed, ZK Link, Orbify, I think everyone saw a couple of weeks ago. They wanted to raise 30,000, 37, 70 million or something like this. So if you're actually building a product that has a tier 1 team that has experience, you're going to be successful even during these days. We as a marketing agency right now have an influx of clients, but these are proper clients who have a sustainable business. Like example, Nice of Coffee, it's one of our clients. They're building an amazing game that has a use case, that has an actual product that everyone wants to use. Of course, they're going to be doing well. Whereas other projects that probably don't have that underlying value, they're struggling just because there's not that much free money in the market as you would see in a bull run.
If I can add something,
Look,
I totally agree with Laura, because I'm honestly very grateful that we have this bear market right now, because thanks to this bear market, everybody who is not bringing value wiped out of the game. We don't need you. And this is the beautiful thing of Web3. The area of just having a white paper, it's finished. And this is, I'm very happy about it, because finally, or you bring value, or you bring a utility, or you are solving a problem, or you don't deserve to be in the space. And this is the beautiful thing of Web3 and what is making a difference with Web2 or whatever else is existing around. But Web3 is something completely unique. It's something completely new. So you need to solve problem. And right now, I think that the most important thing is that people don't want to hear about crypto. They don't want to hear about NFT. They don't want to hear about buzzwords. They just want to know that you are solving a problem. And 99% of the time, they don't even want to know that they are using blockchain technology. They just want a product that it's working. So guys, this is the moment, you know, in Italy, we say to run up our sleeves and just work and build. Otherwise, ciao, ciao.
Yeah, just to add to
look,
that, I think.
Look, I totally agree with both of you. That's definitely, you know, a period where a lot of companies are, you know, unfortunately going bankrupt. But the reality is, this is a period where, you know, you're identifying the winners from the losers. You know, the ones that are truly solving an underlying problem. And unfortunately, you know, it's, you know, what some people have been calling, you know, tourist investors, because it was on the investor side, not just on the startup side, but also on the startup and the founders. So, you know, in the market, there was a lot of tourist investors and tourist founders that were exploring, you know, what can I do here, you know, and, you know, trying to build a business on something that is not really a business at the end of the day. So yes, it is actually, you know, this, if I may call it, cleanup of the market is good to happen every now and then. So you've got the winners that can shine out through this dark times.
Definitely.
Yeah, I
Hasan,
think,
I can, Danny, if I may just add to that, sorry.
Sure.
Everything that was said, I can fully agree. And from my perspective, as we are supporting a lot of builders, I think we all have to face these challenges. We have to accept that we are in this market, and we have to grow from these challenges. I think it's a great opportunity. And yes, it is a filter. A lot of weak projects, also on the trader side, will be washed out. That's how it is. But it's a perfect opportunity for everyone that is surviving, that is taking the challenge to connect with other projects from the ecosystem he is active in, to work together, to build these relationships, create networks, and to find synergies, because the next bull run is around the corner, let's say. And until then, there is less noise, and we can take the time to build some amazing products. And I'm sure a lot of people are doing that. We just need to find them. Daniel.
Yeah, maybe I think Elrond is one of the examples of what you can achieve in the bear market in a way, simply because, you know, 2017, when we were having the discussion with ERD at the time, we were oversubscribed with 100 million, I think. And at the end, we raised about 5 million, right? And in the good times, we reached a pretty nice valuation. But I think there's several things here that we need to consider, right? One of them is, of course, we have builders that are building really interesting products, but they need to go, especially in the bear market, they need to go into this survival mode, and they need to realize that, you know, you might have a really valuable product, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people will look at it in that particular way, simply because it's very tough, right? The funds that are investing are looking at their pockets in a different way in the bear market. So it's very important for the builders to go into this mentality. What do I do now? What sort of choice do I have, right? Do I raise a little bit of money and then do I go forward and start building? And then, by the way, that will incentivize me to, you know, build even further and, not sit too comfortably. I think that's very important. And then on top of that, I also see in the bear market a lot of opportunity for the startups that have already launched their projects, right? And the opportunities lie in the fact that in the bear market, you might be able to close some deals that, you know, are not so interesting for you in the bull market, right? Especially when you're discussing with exchanges and some other partners and so on. And I can say that from experience. I mean, we've been through several bear markets. It's very tough. It's extremely tough. It's nobody gonna say it's easy, but at the same time, it sort of incentivizes the founders, the builders to really level up, to really be creative, to really, quit on the drama and start collaborating with other builders. And, at the end, I'm sure that we will see the light. But it's very important for the builders and for the startups to make this mental switch and not feel frustrated about the products that they have built, because they may be very valuable, but just make the mental switch that this is a survival mode sort of a time. So yeah, this is my input on this.
Yeah, so there isn't much to add. As auditors, our main challenge was that our pipeline would shrink. But the good news about that is that it shrank with the projects which didn't have a very high quality. We typically can associate quality of projects with how well they are funded, or actually not necessarily how well they are funded, but more like how well they organize themselves and how well they predict and they plan for bad things. Yeah, so I think that was our main challenge, mainly that we lost some of our clients from the pipeline. Some of them even had to bankrupt completely, which is part of life.
All right, well, thank you everyone for some good answers. Kick things off. I wanted to shift gears just a little bit, move from the bear market to the topic of innovation. And we've seen some trends emerging recently that are cross-pollinating with the blockchain space. And, there's emergence of AI, metaverse, zero-knowledge proofs, and you see some Web3 builders trying to follow the hype train, so to speak. So I wanted to direct this to Laura first. And the question is, what do you think people should look for to determine whether a project is truly building something innovative, or are they just chasing hype?
This is a very good question. And I would say there are two types of projects. There's a project whose utility is to build something to actually bring some kind of value. And then there are other projects whose utility is 100x. Basically, that's the only thing. The token is going to pump because they're chasing the hype. So a couple of weeks ago, all the AI narrative were just pumping. Before, when ChatGPT 3.5 and 4 was launched, anything with GPT ending or starting was just pumping. So that's the question. There's one type of project that investors really love, and I also represent one fund, where we love that utility is 100x. That's it. We know we're going to invest, the token will pump, we'll make the money. But these are not long-term projects. These are projects for the short-term gain. When it comes to long-term projects actually have value, have benefit, are those projects that have very clear target audience, and they know exactly what kind of problem they're solving that is a problem right now. They're not creating a problem. They know there is already a problem in the market. and they're not solving a problem of tomorrow. And what does it mean? There are quite a few projects that solving an issue, as an example of bridging NFTs between different metaverses. But hey, we only have a couple of metaverses and it's not even a big market. You don't need to bridge assets between metaverses right now. You're gonna need it in 5 years probably. So you can't build a problem for the problem of tomorrow. You have to build a problem for a problem of today. So how to see those projects? So first of all, clearly understanding who is the target audience. Total addressable market is big, and people are willing to pay for the solution that is not a nice to have, but a must to have. That's the most important thing, that people are actually pinpoint looking for a solution and you're just building one. Another very important thing is to see how big is their tech team and where is their tech team. Because if there's a project who's saying they're building an infrastructure would it be like layer 1 DeFi and have 3 developers? Not going to build with the free developers a whole infrastructure project. That's another very good indicator. If the marketing team is bigger than developers, well, then it's the 100x project. That's not a sustainable project. And again, I run a marketing agency, so I'm talking a little bit even against marketing in some cases. Another very important thing is to see how they're communicating, who they're communicating to. Are they communicating and just getting a bunch of influencers trying to pump the token price because they want to sell out, or they're actually talking with their end users and consumers, the target audience? That also is a very good indicator. And overall, I would say it's about seeing how the team interacts with their community. So join their Telegram, join their Discord, ask questions, see if your questions are being answered with details or you're just being brushed off. And that communication shows how much the founders care about the community. And if they don't, well, that's another very good indicator. This is not a project who actually is there to build a long-term value.
Okay, thank you, Laura.
If I may add to that, I agree with most of the points that Laura's highlighted. I would add a couple. Also, the way I look at it as well is the business model of some of these startups. Now, a lot of them, they have something, we're going to charge X or Y or Z on service A, B, or C. But the real question here is, what is the likelihood of being able to monetize that business model that you've proposed? And what's the real likely demand for that service or product or solution that you have developed? And then the most important question is, which is a very, very, very difficult question, especially at an early stage, how profitable will this business be in the future? Is there an underlying, model that can be unlocked where this business will become profitable at some point? We've seen a lot of companies, after several years, they still cannot break a profit. So ultimately, if we're looking at this, and sorry, I am looking at this from a business point of view, as Laura looks at it from a marketing point of view, I look at it from a business point of view and a numbers point of view. Ultimately, any investor is going to put money because they want to make money, right? I mean, obviously, there's all sorts of other types of investors, people chasing, like other themes, but generally, the financial investor, if I may call them that, they're looking for a return on their money. They'd like to make it 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x. Again, that's, in a traditional way. I'm not going to talk about the 100x or so, on some of the coins that we've seen, So being able to demonstrate a profitable model in the future is extremely critical, because at the end of the day, we're in the business of making money for that sector without getting into all the other, obviously, themes.
If I can add something
Maybe
else.
just to...
Oh, go, Daniel. Go, Daniel.
Yeah, just one second, Bruno. So I think what's very important, a lot of these technology companies from the blockchain space, of course, they especially for marketing purposes, they tend to use, all these buzzwords, AI, metaverse, and whatnot, to make sure that people are speaking about their companies. Now, I think what's very important whenever, you hear this kind of news is to always look at the track record of that particular startup or company. Did these guys build anything valuable? Do they have a working product? Hey, what sort of money did they raise? What did they do with the money they raised? Is it all, because I think at the end of the day, numbers and products speak for themselves, right? If I see a company that has built something really meaningful, something really powerful, then I can have some sort of level of trust that they will be able to deliver something in relation to AI or metaverse or some other product, right? Now, if it's a completely new company that starts from scratch and they like to go on particular trends, then there's other things we normally look at very carefully. Of course, some of the investors might not have access to the code that these companies are building, the product code. And that's something that we look very closely with the Launchpad product that we have. But you can also look at other elements. Where does the team come from? What sort of relations they have, what sort of background they have, did they build other products before this particular startup? That sort of thing that they're really important. And then what sort of money do they raise, right? Is that a red flag if they raise too much money for this particular startup? Is it a red flag if they raise maybe not enough money? So there's things that I think you can look at, but a very, very thorough due diligence is absolutely necessary, whether you are an investor or whether you are a community member or whether you are somebody who wants to partner with these companies. What we like to do whenever we partner with somebody is really look at the track record. And because we are hardcore builders, whenever we look at the technical stuff, that's an element they can't really lie about. So yeah, that's from our side.
We
Bruno?
have this very quickly, running joke. Basically, when we meet any founder, we always ask, what is their strategy for basically a source of funds? Is their strategy actually building revenue and profit, or their strategy for making money just living through investors and raise after raise after raise?
Usually it's the second one. So look, guys, I agree.
Well, as long as someone's giving you the money, why not?
Also true. So I completely agree with everything that you guys said. I agree also that it's true that a lot of this indicator can be fake, can be pumped. Like, for example, even the community, you go and check their Twitter, Telegram, Discord, or whatever. It might be that 99% they're bots, or everything is fake, or they bought an entire farm of people that is typing messages all days. And very good this, Laura, but marketing, it's all about the way that you are selling something. It doesn't mean that it's in the way you are selling it. It's not about the way that you use words. Like, one thing that I believe that it's important is to understand if you're really solving a problem. And if you, as a person that is going to invest it, you think, am I going to buy it? Am I going to use it? And I think that another very important key indicator, it can be competitors. There is somebody else that is already doing something similar to what I'm doing. Why am I doing it better than them? It's like, I'm doing really something that is improving that solution that is already existing, because guys, we are 8 billion people in the world. So it's going to be very easy that the same idea that we had, another 2,000 people add it. But let's understand if our competitors are better than us, or if we are really solving the problem, if we are really bringing a solution on board. And of course, I agree with Daniel that code never lies. So in the moment you have access to what they're doing, what they're building, you can check everything and you can understand if those people are really working. Plus, there are all these repository on GitHub. So you can basically check if they're working, if they're posting, if they are keeping their code updated, if they're fixing bugs or whatever is going on. But there are a lot of parameters that need to be checked. And let's say the truth about AI, it's amazing. It had a huge impact. We can see the amount of users, but right now it's just following a hype. Like, the real integration in Web3, it can be something for auditing code or for checking, for example, how a Web3 project can work. But basically for now, we are still, surfing and see where this is going, and let's see if we can surf the wave or not. And about the metaverse, I believe that metaverse is just another buzzword that a lot of people are trying to create something, but still basically the technology needs to be delivered for allowing to millions of people to be on the same platform, for allowing for a platform to be always online and to don't crash, and especially to replicate an experience that is as close as possible to the real life. Look at the new Apple Vision Pro. Now everybody became from AI expert to headset expert. Every day there is a new expert that is coming out. So integration can be, endless. But the reality is, are we solving a problem? This is, I think, it's always the main question to keep in mind when evaluating a project.
I think I know why Daniel was smiling now when we talk about billions of users.
No comment.
No, that's fine. I think a lot of points that have been mentioned can also be found in the entity's papers in our documentation when we research projects. I think it's very important to understand we focus very much on the community in the whole Multiverse X ecosystem. We have a very vibrant community. We talk a lot about education, making them understand what actually is built. But as you said, Bruno, at the end of the day, just to use Laura's example with Knights of Katina, does the user really care if blockchain technology is used? He wants to play a game, and maybe he wants to have some returns on that. And the same accounts for the investor. Do they understand the value of a project? Is the team capable of delivering everything? Is the layer of technology able for such a game to be able to deliver everything? I think these are the questions we have to ask. And we are researching. I'm in crypto since more than 7 years, and I'm researching since day one. You have to compare, you have to benchmark, you have to try, you have to look at code to find out what really works. And alone, it's impossible. And we've built a community, we've built a network, we have a partner network, we can work together to find out these things. And I think that's a very great thing that you have these people you can rely on, you can discuss things, you can be transparent on stuff, and you can work together. And just to quote another person, if the cake is not large enough, we just build a bigger one, and we are right at day one. So it's a builder's market for us.
All right.
As a professor, I often see students who don't really know the answer, but they keep talking and go around, and they actually have no point. And the same happens with many teams actually in the Web3 space. Sometimes there are people who they have no strength, technically speaking. Maybe they just finished high school, they did 1 year of college, and they dropped out of college. And now they want to do the most advanced zero knowledge algorithm. And they talk about zero knowledge, and they don't even know what zero knowledge means. They are talking about snarks, and they say zero knowledge. And so I don't know if you are an investor, I think either you should be technically competent or have somebody who is technically very competent, a researcher, somebody who you can pay as a consultant and interrogate the teams on the technical side. If the teams don't have strong people on the technical side, then they will not deliver, I think. That's my view. They should have at least one person in there for capability. If they want to do zero knowledge, they should have somebody really strong. If they want to do AI, they should have somebody really strong for AI. Because otherwise, they will just go around and build on the hype, house of cards.
Maybe just to add on what you mentioned, Grigore, I think it's always very important for the community to look at the projects that are vetted by runtime verification with an audit, because these people know what they're doing. And it's always a very good sign whenever they sign something off. Even if you don't have the technical knowledge, always look for who did the security audits, right? And what sort of security audits have been done and by what teams. I think that sort of simplifies things for the people who don't know about zero knowledge proof, or maybe who don't have any sort of technical background, such as myself.
Yeah, I wanted to ask another question to build off of that. This one is for Grigore. Your audio is a little bit hard to understand you, but I know you have a lot of really interesting stuff to say, so I don't know, maybe you can move closer to the microphone or something. But anyway, this next question, I just wanted to bring it back to Multiverse X for a second, because we celebrate the whole Web3 ecosystem, but we're also a Multiverse X community here, and we have Benjamin speaking later, we have Daniel here. And anyway, you've worked with the Multiverse X Foundation, Grigore, and you've also audited several top DeFi projects, AshSwap, Atom Protocol, for example. And Atom even announced last year that runtime verification made the decision to invest in Atom the first time you ever invested in one of the companies you're auditing. So I just wanted to get some insights from you about what makes you so bullish about Multiverse X, and in particular, Atom Protocol.
Advisor for what used to be Elrond, Multiverse X. Now I've been with them from the very beginning. I knew Benjamin before he started the project, and I was always a big fan of their approach, of their enthusiasm, and of their capability to deliver. I was very impressed with how they staged things and how they delivered on every single stage. And now when it gets to Atom, I think lending borrowing is one of the main applications of DeFi. Swapping, yes, but in the end, you have assets and you don't want to sell them. So you use them as collateral and get liquidity to do other things. I think every blockchain should have a lending borrowing powerful protocol. That's also the basis for stable coins. Those are the healthier stable coins when you have collateral like DAI and so on. So yeah, I think it's an important project. And we talked to the team, we looked over their code, and we saw how easy they were in correctness. For us, that is a big indicator. When clients come to us and say, hey, we really want the best possible assurance that we can have that this code is correct. For us, that is a big sign. I don't know, maybe we should also be investors in general, because the very good teams just come to us for their audits. We're thinking actually at some moment of becoming investors in the company. And sometimes so many teams try to give us their tokens instead of paying cash, and we usually say no. But sometimes we make arrangements with the teams, and that's, as you said, a very high indication that that team is a powerful team.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, as we know, Atom Protocol looks like the first Launchpad project on X Launchpad. So we're all looking forward to that. I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in on this topic.
Maybe just to add on that, I've been in a ton of calls with the guys from Atom Protocol, and I can testify to the fact that they're very serious about what they're building. And I love the level of energy. I think Atom Protocol is basically one of the closest things to, in terms of user experience as well, to what we are trying to do with Multiverse X. And for us, that's always something very important when it comes to building a product, right? Because especially with lending, borrowing, and the type of products that they have, it's extremely important to make it as simple as possible for the users to interact with these kind of products. And I just love what they're doing. I'm very much looking forward to the Launchpad element, as I'm sure everybody else in the community does.
For sure.
Absolutely. I think everybody is waiting for it, for Atom to launch. It's much needed in the ecosystem. And I think also for the whole ecosystem to be aware, this is the Atom project is not a project that was just built out of nowhere. I think we can also see that it was a common effort of several parties, several stakeholders involved, of course, with a huge part of the Multiverse X ecosystem. But Hatom is working very closely with a lot of other key players in the ecosystem to reach their goals. And I'm really proud. I know these guys since more than a year as well. And we have sync calls and we are working together with them as well. They have a great team. They have pushed a lot and they are really delivering. And yeah, as Daniel said, I think we can, all of us who are working with them can testify that these guys are true builders and they are delivering a product that is much needed in the ecosystem.
Okay, so I wanted to keep it here with Wolfgang for a second. As you see in the name of the panel, adaptation is one of our topics here. And with adaptation comes regulation, and that is changing the game for Web3. And I think we all need to adapt a little bit. But anyway, there's more use cases, more adoption, better technology, but also more scrutiny. So in Europe, we have the MiCA regulations going into effect in the next year or so, and a lot of changes being made there. I know at Entity and Astari Vision, you like to keep the partners ahead of the game in that regard. But my question is, how do you think builders and the overall blockchain community can maintain this original spirit of crypto, the free and democratic sense of where it all started, as we move into a more regulated world?
That's a very good question. I can only ask everyone to read about the MiCA regulation, and I think everybody is following on what's going on in the US currently with the SDC. And yeah, not so happy days for us, but I have a few points on that. I think to preserve the original free spirit of crypto as Web3 technology becomes more regulated, builders and the community can take a few steps that I have in mind. So I think it's very important that education and awareness about the crypto principles have to be prioritized. Embracing decentralization and utilize decentralized platforms is another very important point. And also to encourage open source collaboration and knowledge sharing. I think we are focusing very much on that, not only on the Astari Vision side, but also on the entity side. And privacy and security measures. When we look at runtime verification, other auditors, I think that's a very, very huge topic. And yeah, as I said, with regulation coming up, it is definitely necessary. The question is in what way we are going to regulate things. It has a lot of advantages because it takes away risks, for example, for retail investors. It also gives security for projects because they have a framework where they can build their stuff, and that is definitely needed. So engage in advocacy and participate in regulatory discussions on that. Really, you have to stay ahead of the game and you have to share the knowledge. And then I think these actions will help maintain the core values of freedom, innovation, and decentralization within the crypto ecosystem.
I want to add 2 points. Sorry, Bruno, second time interrupting you.
Don't worry. Women always first.
Well, as I'm the only woman, I might as well take the benefit. We need to have next time 50-50, guys, women and men.
Got it.
So 2 things. Third things regarding regulation. It's very good that regulations are coming, yet we as users or consumers still can choose. The same way as regular Web2 companies can be registered and have licenses, let's say in UK, US, any that's called respected markets, or they can go in offshore and be registered in like BVI, Seychelles, and so on. The same way crypto companies have a choice, whether they want to go get, let's say, a crypto exchange license. I'm from Lithuania, so Lithuania is one of the easiest countries to get the license and be fully compliant, or they still can be decentralized and people can choose. So it's very good that if someone wants stability and that safeness, they go for the safe option, but still we have a choice, especially using VPNs and on, to access something that's less centralized, comes with perks, comes with risks. And then when we're looking in US, I think we can't take what's happening with US and Binance and Coinbase being sued very seriously, because we probably all are aware that SEC main, if I'm not mistaken, counselor, he wanted to become an advisor to Binance in 2019, and he got rejected. And before indicting Coinbase, Gary Gensler actually put some shorts in the market. So it's very heavily manipulated market, and it's very much political because he's going out of office and he wants basically burn everyone down with him. It's not about the crypto. It's not about who is doing a legit thing or not. It's more about specific individuals who have a political agenda trying to get their own gains of the market. And now, Bruno, passing on to you.
Look, about the short of Gary, I think that is not confirmed if he really did it. But this is a news that came out, but you know, probably he put it with some of his friends. Now for
I wouldn't be surprised. And it's not the first
no.
time when he actually has some sort of market manipulation happening around him.
Look, this is not the first insider trading move that we see inside of the US
by SEC.
or a big player, let's put it like this. Now, for going back to the question for don't change the topic and start to talk about SEC, I think that we just have to decide if we want this environment to be the far west. Sorry, the Wild West. This is the way you say it in English. Because the reality is that if we want an environment that is completely unregulated, completely, you know, free to do whatever they want, we need to understand that we are going to be exposed to a lot of scam, a lot of troubles, and very much institutions are never going to play with us. And if we want to see this environment to grow, we need institutional money, guys, because retail investors are not going to put their money if they don't see the institutions that are putting their money first. But institutions, they cannot play in this game if this game is not regulated, because otherwise they're going to have problem. So they just prefer to stay away or to take another approach when they approach this environment. So regulation, I think, are needed. Another thing to say is that it will be great if this regulation, you know, will be done in a proper way by seeking advice from experts. This is something that has not happened because, yeah, we have MiCA in Europe, but MiCA in Italy, we will say that it has been written with the foot because we have no idea. People who wrote it, they have not been, you know, seeking advice from anyone. Basically, it was just a piece of paper thrown there just to say, hey, we did something. At least, you know, US, it's open. They say, look, we don't have any willing to regulate it. We don't care. For now, we just want to sue everyone and collect as much money as possible. At least, you know, they're clear, but regulations are needed. Look what is happening in Hong Kong. Right now, everything is shifting through Asia because Asia is understanding that Europe and America are not having the right approach to crypto. So that's why you are seeing a lot of money, a lot of projects that are shifting through Asia, or they do as Laura said, they just go to the BVI, Cayman, Panama, or whatever, and just open a new company over there and nobody's gonna bother them and they can continue to do what they want. But we need to seek regulation if we wanna see the big players come in and put the real money into it, and we can really see the crypto market grow above the 10, 20, 30 trillion dollar. This is what we want to see.
If I may add to that, I think regulation is a good thing as well. I think it will help in the evolution and the growth of the sector. We've seen a few key players in the market try and self-regulate through certain disclosures and so on, doing so-called proof of reserves and so on. Hopefully with the regulation, there will be more scrutiny of, you know, key players and stakeholders within the market, where more disclosure and clarity about how these companies operate, about their financial health, about their corporate governance, and just providing, you know, the public with more information about these companies, and they don't come across as, you know, black boxes where people don't really understand how they operate, how they work, what's their situation, their status, and their capability. So basically to avoid something like FTX happening again.
Maybe to add on what has already been said. I think, you know, there's the beauty in the crypto and Web3 space in the sense that everybody strives for transparency. There's this element of, you know, we want a decentralized world, which I think these are all very good values that we have. And I think we need to keep that spirit of, you know, striving for transparency, for decentralization, for these things that in the end do help the humanity. But at the same time, it's very important to understand that there's 8 billion people in this world, and if technology is ever going to be, you know, invisible to the average internet user, and if they are going to use it, and I think that's what we're striving for, then it's very important to work with governments. It's very important to work with legislators, and everything needs to be done in a very smart way, in a way that you know, has some really benefit results for the space. That's why with Multiverse X we are working with, I mean, we're working with 2 national banks, the National Bank of Romania, where we have the e-money license, and I can't tell you the level of due diligence that they had to go through before they allowed us to have that license. And then the Bank of Portugal, where we have the license from the All Due Trust, right? So we are working with them. We have really interesting discussions, but it's very important to always, on the one hand, maintain this element of the spirit of the Web3 that strives for transparency, and we should never lose that spirit. But at the same time, work with legislators, work with regulators, so that we do have a framework where new startups can come and register, and they can feel safe about what they are doing, and you know, at the end of the day, you know, pay taxes to the governments, and you know, really grow the ecosystem. So I think there needs to be a balance between regulation and at the same time not losing that spirit of Web3, which I think is beneficial to at the core to what we're building.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're sort of running out of time here, unfortunately. I could keep going with you guys all day. There's a lot of stuff that we didn't quite have a chance to get to, but there was also a lot of really interesting insights from you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, thank you for sharing a little preview into the future of Web3 with everybody at home. We have a lot more exciting stuff to come today at the Builders Forum. So just one more time, big thank you, Wolfgang, Bruno, Daniel, Laura, Gregore, Hassan, and Javier. Thanks again. And I
think you deserve a big clap. Thank you also for putting all this together.
And
thank you guys.
Thank you, Edward, for being the host of this wonderful panel. And of course, also from my side, thanks to all the panelists for their insights and contributions. We'd love to also have you around in our next sessions. So if you have some time, just stay around. And now let's change rooms and meet at the next very, very interesting session where Benjamin Minku, founder and CEO of Multiverse X, will share some valuable insights. Remember, you can access the sessions via the Sessions tab in Zoom. So we will meet there in 5 minutes. Make sure to be around. Don't waste your time. Don't use the bathroom for too long, and make sure we see you. Take care. See you in a minute.